Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of W.W.A.A Podcast. I'm your host, Kristy Mickelsen, and for those of you not familiar with me, I am a romance book author and an advocate for causes such as cancer, autism, and lupus awareness. You can find my books on Amazon.com and other online retailers, and you can follow me on most social media platforms, including X.com at Kristy Books. Tonight, I'm joined by two wonderful people, one of them being my co-host, Billy Dees. Billy, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show with me. I'm also joined by my wonderful guest. Her name is Alexis Hunter. Alexis, how are you?
I'm doing great, Kristy. Just great. So happy to be on your show.
Well, thank you. It's great to have you here. I'm just going to go ahead and tell everybody just a few minutes of stuff about you because you're absolutely wonderful. Everyone, Alexis is a well-known author. She wrote a book called Joi Lansing A Body to Die For. I'm going to go ahead and let Alexis tell us a little bit more about herself before we get into the interview. Alexis, go ahead and tell us about yourself.
Oh, here we go. Bingo bongo. Okay. I've written a book, as you know, and you were so wonderful to read. And I also design jewelry. I've done a lot of different things in my life. And my great love is writing and making jewelry. That's pretty much sums it up.
I love that. I love that. Now, you said you were a writer and you're a jewelry designer. I don't know if anybody's able to see me, but I'm actually wearing one of your necklaces right now. It's very beautiful, and I thank you for sending that to me. I love it.
I am thrilled that you do, my dear, because it's my passion.
I love that. And I have to tell our listeners really quick that you actually just had one of your jewelry pieces appear on a Times Square billboard with, I believe it was Diana Wentworth, wasn't it?
Yes. It blew me away. I didn't know that was going to happen, and she posted the photo. I mean, it's right on the billboard in Times Square. And the fun thing is, the necklace is my homage to Iris Apfel. And if anybody doesn't know who she she just recently passed away. She was wonderful. This woman, I think she was close to 100, and she wore the most wild jewelry and sunglasses. This old lady rocked. She was just you got to check her out on Google. She just is mind-blowing. So I made a trippy necklace, and Diana loved it and bought it from me, and she chose to wear this, and I'm thrilled. My God, how cool is that?
That's completely awesome. I understand you've also sold some jewelry to some really wonderful people out there. I'm not going to mention names because that's not for me to do, but you've sold some good jewelry pieces to a lot of people that I know and grew up listening to, music-wise and dance-wise and everything else. So,
I'm lucky. I am so fortunate that people really like my stuff. I mean, as a writer, you know that when people appreciate your work, it just blows you away. And the fact that people, celebrities, Paula Abdul has one of my necklaces for the stage, and Harry Belafonte had, unfortunately, he just passed away not too long ago. Sherry Belafonte, Steven Tyler, Liv Tyler, Dale O'Grady, really cool people.
Absolutely. That's why I feel quite honored and privileged to have received your necklace and the book that I just finished by you, which was Joi Lansing's A Body to Die For. Can you go? I want to let you tell the story because no one else can tell it better than you. Why don't you tell us a little bit first about how you met Joi Lansing and why she was important to you?
That's the fun part. Well, when I was a kid, I was living in Kansas, of all places, right near Wichita. Population, I think at that time, was 10,000. So there wasn't a lot of excitement. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
Yeah, I know you get it. So every day after school, I was just a kid. I'd come home, and the most exciting stuff for me at that time was to watch TV. A Mickey Mouse Club was one of them. That was a biggie. and and I would watch Bob Cummings, and that was in the late 50s, I think, probably in the late 50s. And Joi Lansing was his favorite model.
Oh, wow. Keep going there, because I remember, back when I remember Joi Lansing was with I Love Lucy and, oh goodness, I Love Lucy and the Beverly Hillbillies. That's where I remember her. So go ahead and tell us a little more about this. I'm interested.
So, now, fast track, my parents decided to move to California, which was really a blessing. And so we moved going into my senior year of high school, which was not so great. Uh, I finished school, and then I decided I wanted to be a star. You're basic going to be a movie star. And moved to Hollywood, and I was living at the Hollywood Studio Club, which was a really cool place at the time. Uh, yeah, if you guys out there are listening, check it out on Google. A lot of the young female actresses were living at the Hollywood Studio Club because they wanted these young women to be safe. And the Studio Club was safe. I mean, they had people at the door. No one could come or go without them knowing, which was really cool.
That sounds really cool.
It was cool. When I was there, Farrah Fawcett lived there, Sandy Duncan, Sally Struthers, and me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. And they did pretty well for themselves, actually. And through my many adventures, because it was that time for a young woman having a good time, so I did. And a friend of mine called me and said, I cannot stand this blank monkey suit one more day. Do you want a job on a film? And I said, well, of course. I knew this, Kristy, I knew this was going to be my big break. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I didn't care. This was it. So my friend took me to meet the producer and the director, and I said, absolutely, I want to do this. And so I get the call to go in because we're going to film, and it was like in the middle of the night. It was so early, which is not my thing, but of course I'm doing this. And so I'm there, and I'm sitting in makeup, and they put this monkey suit on me. The name of the name of this film was Bigfoot, and I was going to be one of the Bigfoot monsters. And I thought, well, how cool. And this was probably the worst film ever made. You can see it on YouTube for free. If you can get through it, I'm amazed. I couldn't. It was just so bad, so bad. It's hideous. And and so I'm sitting there, and they have me in this fake fur, which was a good thing, but a bad thing because it looked so fake. Fake fur monkey suit. And the only thing that was exposed were my hands and my face. The rest of me was covered with this stuff. And so they like spray painted. The makeup was not exactly the greatest either. They put like spray paint black on my hands and my face, and then glued fake fur and put fangs in my mouth, plastic fangs. Oh, tacky. I mean, this was so tacky. I mean, it's just so bad. And so there I am sitting there, and I had no idea who was going to be in this film. I didn't care.
Right.
It was all about me.
It was all about getting your break, girl.
Yeah, babe. Yeah. So there I am sitting and and the door opens because these were like trailers,
Okay.
and the door opens, and the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life walked in, and it was Joi. I could not believe my eyes. I didn't know she was the star of the movie. I had no idea. She was the star, and uh, uh, who was it? Why am I blanking? Carradine. John Carradine was in it, and and other people that really didn't. Joi was the big star in this, in Carradine. And so she sat. The next seat was right next to me. She sat, and she'd already done most of her makeup, and they did a little bit. And she was just so friendly and sweet, and we just started talking. And this is what happened throughout the film, because anyone who's ever done a film knows it's hurry up and wait. Most of the time you're just sitting there, and then suddenly it's you're on and you're shooting a scene, but a lot of it's just sitting around and talking with the other actors. So we became really good friends, and that's how it all started. Do you want me to go further with this, or do you want to?
Well, let me go ahead and ask you this. I know reading the book, when you're describing the scene and you're describing everything that just happened right there, right beforehand, I think it was during your teenage years, you had seen her on TV. You had a big crush on her. What did you feel?
Absolutely.
What did you feel when you realized, oh my goodness, it's Joi Lansing. This is the girl I've had a crush on forever. How did you feel knowing that she was the star?
Well, I was just blown away that she was there. I couldn't believe it. And then, reality hit when we were just talking, and she was, she was no longer the movie star. She was Joi, the sweet, wonderful person. And that's who I got to know. It was no longer, movie star stuff. It was just like, what a wonderful person. So sweet, so nice. And unpretentious. You would never know. It would be just like you were like sitting in a Starbucks and somebody sat next to you and you just started a conversation. It was just so real and so relaxed. But it was just like, it was a dream come true. Yeah, it was like, oh my God. And it was a true Beauty and the Beast story. She was the beauty and I was the beast.
Oh, you're never a beast, Alexis. You're never a beast. However, I'm going to move on just a little and everything. I'm really curious. How did you guys get to forming the relationship you ended up having later? Because back then, from my understanding, it was taboo or illegal or something for two people of the same sex to fall in love with each other. How did that end up?
It was, absolutely, it was illegal. In fact, I met her in 1969, and that's the year of Stonewall in New York, the riot, Stonewall, which changed the face of the gay movement. We were tired of being rousted by the police and harassed and thrown in jail. And the situation with Joi was straight. She was straight. And I feel that if it's just two people, it had nothing to do with gender. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, Kristy.
I do.
It's just,
I do.
We connected on so many different levels. It was just on a soul level, on a heart level. And I just fell madly in love with her. And we really got to know each other. And then one night, because it was so low budget, we were shooting all night. I think that they were going to lock the door on the studio in the morning or something, because I think they paid 50 cents or whatever to rent it. But and so we went to Schwab's, good old famous Schwab's in Hollywood, and we talked all night long, and it was just like I'd known her my entire life, and it just happened, and then we just became closer and closer, and then we stayed friendly after the film, and at the studio club, everybody was trying to have different jobs just to support ourselves because there weren't always movies. And one of the girls there had a job as a go-go dancer. And she couldn't make it one night. She asked me if I wanted to do it. I think I would make like $20 or something, which was probably a lot of money then. And I said, sure. So I thought, oh God, maybe I could see Joi. And at that time, she was having an illicit affair with Sid Caesar.
Oh.
I don't know if you know who he was, but he was a big comedian. And at that time, he was actually good looking. He had pulled himself together and he looked good. And they were having an affair. And I said to Joi, I said, I'm doing this go-go thing at this dive in Hollywood. I said, maybe you and Sid could come and see me. And she said, well, let me check with Sid. And I didn't think they were going to make it. And there I am on this platform, go-go dancing, with all these creepy, it was all men in there, I think. I don't think, maybe there was a cocktail waitress or two, but that was it. And there I am dancing to the jukebox. And in walks Joi, all dressed. I mean, she was dressed to the nines, looking absolutely magnificent. And she walks in and blew my mind. And Sid wasn't with her. And I thought, wow, how cool is this? And she sat down because the platform where I was elevated. So she was below me. And I'm dancing away, and she's just smiling and, having a good time. And she was ignoring the creepy guys. And then suddenly the song, who was it? The Temptations, My Girl came on.
Oh.
And I'm dancing to that, and I'm just looking at her, and she's looking at me. And she signals me to bend down and talk to her, and I do. And she says, "You don't belong here. Let's leave." And I don't think I've ever moved so quickly in my life. But I did. I didn't care about the $20. I just bailed. And she and I went over to her apartment, and we were just sitting and talking. And she had, at that time, the big fun thing and cool thing was to have a fake fireplace, right?
Oh, yeah. My parents had one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, cool. And so she flipped the switch, and you're just lying there and looking at the fire. And I knew I was gay. I knew that, but there was no way in the world I was going to ever let her know that I was, because I didn't want to ruin our friendship. I mean, never. Uh, so, uh, so I could have the feelings that I had, but I was never going to act on them, right? So, and I knew she was straight. So, we're just listening to music and looking at the fire, and she leans over and kisses me, and
wow.
And then I never left. I was there until she died.
Now, see, that sounds like an amazing, wonderful start of a love and friendship that just never dies. I want to pass over to Billy for a minute and see if he has any questions before we move on with your story, Alexis.
Oh, cool.
Billy.
Hi, Billy.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good.
Good, that's awesome. One of the things is, back then you had mentioned about how personal lives, and especially in regard to same-sex relationships, had to be kept kind of hush-hush.
More than hush-hush. First of all, if it had gotten out that she and I were together, number one, it was illegal. We ran the risk of having a serious problem. Secondly, and the biggie is, it would have destroyed her career. She was a sex symbol. She was a sex symbol at the time of Monroe, Mamie Van Doren, Jane Mansfield, Diana Dors. Those were all her contemporaries.
Yeah.
And she was a sex goddess. And that won't fly.
Yeah.
You understand? That it would have piqued some people's interest. They would have loved that, but in general, it would have screwed up her career, ruined her life.
What did you hear about other male stars of the time, like Rock Hudson and Anthony Perkins, people like that?
It was pretty well known that they were, but it was hush hush. But people in the gay community were people talk, and we were aware. We
Yeah.
were aware that they were. And of course, there were rumors about other people. And who knows? You really don't know unless you're actually sleeping with them.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, people can say whatever.
What I was going to follow up with is I think, if anything, we've not only come full circle, but maybe we've gone too far the other way. And this is what I mean. We have a tendency now to slap a badge on people. They're a certain religion, they're a certain race, they're a certain gender, they have a certain preference. And are we too hyper focused now on different aspects of our sexuality?
I think so. But that's my own personal thing. I'm not speaking for anyone but me. Um, I think sexuality is fluid. And who knows? Like, I mean, Joi was straight. She was very straight. She was married 3 times. She had affairs. She had an affair with Sinatra. She was with him for, I think, over a year, dating him. Uh, who knows? I mean, who really knows what's going to happen? Who's going to walk into your life and suddenly, oh my God, you fall in love with that person?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I personally don't want to be anyone's gay friend. I want to be their friend. I personally don't like it when somebody puts a label on me.
Yes.
You know, it's very small, especially now. That's a very small part of my life.
Yes.
You know, I want to be a good person, a kind person, a loving person. The other is just a small facet.
Yeah.
For me.
What do you think of the Andy Warhol quote? He said one time, "Sex is the biggest nothing of all time."
Yeah, I mean, it's sex is great. If you're with somebody you really care about, it's great. Otherwise, it's pretty boring.
I love her.
No, but well, you know, that's my feeling about it. I mean, it's ho-hum. But if you really love someone, it's just like you want them to be happy. You want them to be pleased. You want them to feel the love that you feel for them. And the love is the important thing. It's not the sex. I mean, the sex is great, you know, but
I perfectly understand. Yeah.
I know you get it.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to get that perspective. I know Kristy is more prepared for the interview in terms of your book and stuff I'm kind of producing today, so I don't want to take too much of your time. But thank you very much for that perspective.
No, I'm glad you addressed this. I'm glad you talked about it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Go ahead, Kristy.
Thank you.
Well, Alex, I want to move into another portion of your story because this is the main part, I think, that we get to in the book. Joi was in love with the fact of stardom. She really wanted to be a star, and
was who she was. Yes, that was her great passion. Was she wanted to be a superstar? She wanted the big career. She loved acting. She was a wonderful comedian. I mean, after you saw her in some of those shows, you realize that.
Absolutely, especially in the I Love Lucy show. I loved her to death. And the I Love Lucy. So I knew exactly who Joi Lansing. Yeah, I knew exactly who Joi was when we've talked about her. I have to ask. I know because of her love for stardom and her love for wanting to remain beautiful and to remain young, how did she go about that? I know in the book you discussed uppers and downers and, in fact, silicone injections. Please walk us through some of this. Walk us through this. Sure.
Yeah, she started doing films at I think 14 years old. She did Easter Parade and, you know, a lot of those, and some of those she didn't get any film credit for. She was signed by the studio. So if you know anything about Judy Garland and how they treated her, you know, they'd give them uppers to keep them working all the time and downers to go to sleep. And Joi was totally, she could not sleep without Seconal or Tuinol and Nembutal. Yeah, downers, reds, yellows, barbiturates, and they pretty much controlled her life because without them, she couldn't sleep.
Now, in part of the book, I do remember too that she was taking those pills along with alcohol in order to fall asleep. Am I correct?
Well, actually, she would only drink the alcohol. At that time, people didn't go to psychiatrists, that much, or therapists, or she had demons. She would go into a depression. I think it was hormonal, and I think that was probably. I think she had cancer way before I ever met her. She would it would happen like monthly. Suddenly, she would go into this deep depression and call the liquor store and have Johnny Walker delivered, and she'd start drinking scotch and mixing it with barbiturates, which you don't do, you die. And the first time that happened, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, oh my God. And I learned how to keep her alive. I learned how to find her pills, take the stuff out of them, throw that away, or part of it, just so that she would get some of it. And then I'd put like gelatin, like those gelatin capsules.
Yeah.
I would put that in the capsules. So it wouldn't kill her. I was able to keep her going, and that was the only way it could be dealt with. And this would last a couple of days. She'd go into this funk, and it was so sad and so depressing to see someone you cared about going through this. And I was young. I was 21 years old. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about drugs. I didn't drink. I was so green. I didn't, this was learn by every episode. I learned more how to take care of her. And it was hard. It was really hard to see somebody like that get into that. And the great thing, toward the end of her life, she stopped. She stopped with the sleeping pills. She stopped with the booze. She stopped all that.
Would you say that the pressures from Hollywood are what contributed to that depression and to the drug use and the alcohol use?
Yeah. Absolutely, yes. The pressure. My God. First of all, when I met her, she was 39. A woman, a sex symbol at 39, almost 40. You might as well kiss it goodbye. She knew that her career as an actor was limited. She wasn't exactly the neighbor next door mom with the 3 kids type.
Now, didn't she want to?
They would know.
Didn't she start going to a doctor to have silicone injected into her body to keep her younger? Is that how that went?
Well, the thing is, she did that in the early 60s, from what I understand. I didn't ask her when she did it or whatever. She had silicone to make her breast bigger.
Okay.
That had really nothing. Well, and I never knew if she put any in her face. She may have put a little bit in her face, but she had it in her breast. And that I know contributed to her death from breast cancer. I know that.
Now, because we're going to start winding down pretty shortly, but I do want to ask you, I'm going to ask you another question. I'm going to pass to Bill, see if he had anything else he wanted to add before we start winding down. I wanted to ask you, the silicone injections, you said you felt it contributed to her death.
Yes.
Do you feel that that's what gave her the cancer, or do you feel that she had cancer beforehand? And what kind of cancer besides, we know it was breast cancer, but do we know?
Breast and ovarian. She had both. She had very large ovarian tumor. Um, no one said which came first. I don't know. Uh, and this was at the time when they were just starting chemo. And luckily, the chemo was able to keep her alive another few years. And she had pretty decent quality of life with it. So I'm grateful for that. But I really believe that it caused the problem, or it contributed greatly. Because I don't know if you remember in the book that when Joi and I were together in New York, when she was appearing in Long Island, she took me to her doctor who had done some of her silicone, and he said, "Oh, you could use a couple and injections and whatever." I wasn't large breasted, and I thought, well, maybe, and so I agreed to have one injection, and the guy, it was awful. It was absolutely awful, and I would never do it again. But fast forward a couple of years later, and I had to have my breast removed because I had cannibalistic cells. It was pre-malignant. I was lucky. Kristy.
Absolutely. You absolutely were. This whole story, I mean, we can actually discuss the story of Joi Lansing for hours upon hours because there's so much to dig into. But for now, I'm going to pass over to Bill and see if he had anything before we start to wind down and finish up with the final thoughts and stuff. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on the program with Kristy and sharing your story. There's a lot of layers to it that make it very interesting. Obviously, there's the personal journey that you were on. There's the classic Hollywood figures involved. So it's very intriguing, and I want to thank you very much for giving some of that. Giving that to us. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much. It's my honor and privilege to be on your show. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Now, Joi, excuse me, I'm sorry. Now, Alexis. See, I'm caught up in Joi now at the moment.
Okay, cool.
Alexis, going through you found out she has cancer. What did that do to you emotionally? How were you feeling when you found this out?
Oh my God, it's like someone just tore out my heart. And the thing is with Joi was a woman child. I don't know how to explain it.
I think I get you.
You know how people think of Monroe being this little girl in a woman's body? Joi was the same. She was a little girl. She was sweet and kind. And I always made sure that she had hope. She knew she had cancer, but I always made it seem like, the chemo is going to help you. You're going to be fine. Everything is good. And that actually kept her going. She never felt that that there was an end, and the hope kept her quality of life and her happy. She was happy toward the end of her life. She wasn't depressed and sad, and she didn't give up. See, that's the whole thing. She never knew that there was an expiration date, and I think that's probably a good way to do it. Everybody has to have what they want and what they need, and it kept her going. It kept her going, Kristy.
I understand, and I think you were amazing at how you kept her going. And I want to ask you, at the end of her life, how did this whole book, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say, the whole book kind of takes you on a roller coaster. I was on a roller coaster throughout the whole book. It's got happy emotions, sad emotions. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry. And it'll make you just fall in love with the two of them. But I want to know, going back and you're writing this book and you're talking about your life with Joi and you're talking about the cancer fight, how did the book help you? Was it therapeutic to write it out? Did you feel like it was therapeutic? It was. How would you say it was?
Well, the thing is, anyone who knows they're going to lose someone, if they really love that person, they want to hold on to everything that they can, every moment, everything that they say, everything that they do. You want those memories. You don't want to lose. You know you're going to lose that person, but you don't want to lose the memories. So prior to that, I had these tapes running through my head all the time, Kristy. Just the tapes of our conversations. Yeah, I I was still living in that time frame. I went on with my life. I dated, I did whatever, but those precious memories were always there. And after writing it, I was able to know that I wasn't going to lose them. Once it was down on paper, I'm not going to lose it. So
Absolutely.
I didn't have to have those tapes, which was
Absolutely.
probably better for my head, for me to really be able to live my life, because it's been many, many years.
That's correct. She passed away from breast cancer in 1972, if I'm correct. Yes?
Right. Long
Yes.
time ago.
Yes.
Long time ago.
Well,
But
Alexis,
the
let me
writing
ask you
was-
this. Let me ask you this really quick. If you can tell our listeners something about Joi and then something about you that you really want them to know that's super important to you for the audience to know, what would those things be? Something about Joi and something about you. What would that be?
Yeah, Joi. I hope people will want to see her films. What is her scopatones are a hoot. Go on YouTube and watch her scopatones. Those were the first music videos, and they were a trip. The guy who shot those, the director, the cameraman, focused on her chest, etc. Throughout these things, it was so tacky. It was great. It was high camp. Yeah, check out the scopatones. And people need to know how kind. I never heard her say one negative thing about anyone. She was always sweet to her fans, to anybody, anyone who would talk to her. She would take time to talk to them. And she was so loving and wonderful and a great person. And she should have been a bigger star. She should have had all of her dreams. I mean, she was a wonderful singer, and that was just starting to really happen when she was diagnosed. She was going to do an album. I mean, that's what she was doing toward the end was of her life was singing. She was singing in big clubs like the Copacabana in New York. I mean, she had a wonderful voice. Yeah, they should know about that too, about her singing and her comedic ability and the fact that she was so much more than people knew.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And about me, I loved her. That was about me.
That's a perfect message right there.
I loved her.
I do have one final question, if you don't mind, and that is.
I don't mind.
That is.
I don't mind.
We know she was doing uppers. We know she was doing downers. We know she injected herself with the silicone, or she went to a doctor and had it done.
Right.
What would you tell our younger generation about this? Do you recommend this, or do you strongly forbid? Like, what is your words of wisdom about this to our younger generation?
That's one of the reasons for writing the book. I want to stop the use of silicone. They're doing it now, Kristy, big time. All these women with the large rear ends,
yes,
a lot of them aren't getting implants. They're getting silicone injections because it's not surgery. It's cheap. It's illegal, but women are doing it. And they're having, if the tissue can become necrotic, it moves, it's terrible. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. It can kill you. It can destroy your life. That is that is my main thing. That, and the other thing is, please have compassion.
Absolutely.
Each other. I mean, the tide is turning. Yes, gay rights, whatever. There's been more compassion, and we're able to live our lives and not so much in fear. But things are changing. It's going the other direction, and it's frightening. And I hope through my book, people will realize that, it's a trite expression, but it's a real expression. Love is love. It doesn't friggin' matter. It does not matter who you love. I mean, if you love someone, really love them. That's what's important in life. What else is there, Kristy? Really?
Absolutely. Alexis, it has been absolutely fabulous to have you on the show and to talk a little bit about your book, Joi Lansing, A Body to Die For. Also, I want to mention again, ladies and gentlemen, Alexis is a very wonderful jewelry designer. Again, I'm wearing one right now, a necklace that she designed for me, and I absolutely love her for that. I truly appreciate everything she's given. She's given me her book and the necklace and everything so that I can learn the story of Joi from her and her wonderful jewelry. Alexis, where can people find you online?
Okay. I'm on Facebook. I've been hacked a few times, so I keep having to change my stupid name. Right now, at this moment, it's under Rachel Alexis on Facebook. So friendly. Let me know that you heard this interview on Kristy's show. I would love that. Anyone who's one of her listeners, I would love to be your friend. So and send me a message. Let me know. Rachel Alexis, and I can't remember where I am on Instagram. But I post all my jewelry, so you can see that too on Facebook. Whenever I finish something, I'll post it so you can see. And if you have any interest in it, just contact me. Just DM me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alexis. And really fast, Billy, where can people find you online?
Probably the easiest place to find me is on, it's X now, and it was once Twitter, at Billy Dees, real easy to find, at Billy Dees. And of course, you can find the Billy Dees podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
That's good to know.
And everyone, I think I'm going to close out the podcast kind of how I would close out most of my podcast, and that is every day people are battling things that we know nothing about. Sometimes it's illness, or sometimes it's dreams of stardom. So we do things that we think are going to help us become a star, but it really ends up hurting us, such as uppers or downers or injecting our body with silicone injections. Ladies and gentlemen, these are things that can hurt us. And if you're seeing other people doing things to hurt them, please stand up and be the voice. Be the voice and say, hey, that doesn't look good. That can hurt you. Just stand up and be the voice, be the change, and be the one to make a difference. Because you might be the one to save a life. And with that, I'm going to say good night, Alexis and Billy.
Good night, Kristy and Billy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.